Hi, everyone. I'm Larita Ba. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Affinity, and I'm here with Sarah Stromberg. Sarah, hi.
Hi.
It's such a pleasure to see you today. Can you give us a little bit and tell everybody a little about yourself, your firm, and what you do?
Yeah. I am the firm administrator at Harris, Karstaedt, Jamison Powers. I've been here over 20 years. Um, Basically, soup to nuts, do everything.
So, as you think about the last 18 months, right? What's your life been like? What have you been responsible for? What are the things that you've had to deal with?
Um, you know, I think COVID threw us all a curveball. Um, Definitely have had to pick up and do more, I would just say day-to-day things to help other people out in the firm, whether they be timekeepers or secretaries, getting stuff mailed out, printed out, hard copies to attorneys. I've been in the office with about 8 people during the
Mm,
entire time of COVID, but the remainder of the staff have either worked a couple days a week or not at all. So
mhm.
that's definitely kind of added to some of the stuff that just has to be taken care of. And then all the changes that have just happened with COVID, all the employment law changes, all the new health code regulations, and every day just having to juggle and shift based on what you're being told.
Yeah, that must have been really challenging because it's every day is not only a new challenge, it's like a completely different sphere of things.
Yeah, yeah. I will be glad when this is all over.
I don't think you'll be the only one.
No, I don't think so either. I think I have a lot of company there.
So, what are some of those challenges? What would you say were the biggest ones that you had to kind of find solutions for?
Initially it was just kind of dealing with how are we going to function, because
Yeah.
going from at least most of the staff at least being in the office every day to now having to move them remote, that was a huge challenge. And then just kind of the challenge of keeping us as a cohesive group during all of this, because there
Yeah.
are there are some employees I have not seen since last March. So,
Sure. Sure.
or if I've seen them, it's just been on a Zoom call or something like that, but no face to face. So,
Yeah. Now, technologically speaking, did everybody in your staff have laptops, or did you have desktops and you had to figure out what to do?
a lot of people had their own home computers. We're a
Okay.
smaller firm, so not really financially able to just go out and buy laptops for everyone.
Sure.
But we did have some laptops available that I could give out or loan out to people if they didn't have a computer set up at home.
Do you guys have remote desktops then, or were people just
Yeah,
able
we
to
have a
get into
remote
their?
desktop connection.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that at least made things a little bit easier when they were coming in from the home computer and you didn't have to worry about some of
Exactly.
the security as much.
Right. But I mean, just even that was a struggle because they weren't all set up with a portal to get in, and
Sure.
then just trying to set up other security features like multi-factor authentication and
Yeah.
things like that, just because it is scary. And we had some clients that were saying, okay, if you're going to do this, we need you to take some extra security precautions. And
Right.
so, I was really just very proud of my IT to be able to just go, okay, here's what we're going to do. And we can get this set up. And now I've got that taken care of. And, I would say within just the span of a week, it was like, okay, we have to completely change how we're doing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I can imagine, especially when you're talking about, home computers. I know, we've talked to people, where, you've got kids that are accustomed to playing on the computer, and it's not like there's anything malicious going on, but you also don't want them accessing anything by accident, right? There's
Right.
all of that kind of concern. Um, so I'm glad that was at least something that you were able to overcome. So on the sort of social aspects, what were some of the things that you had to do to try to keep that cohesive, the cohesion in the office?
Just lots of communication, lots of emails. Being a smaller firm, I'm not sure we were that successful because I just felt like it was difficult. It was
Yeah.
difficult. And even if we did a Zoom meeting, not everyone's technology was working that day, or not everyone would turn on their camera or had a camera to turn on. And so
Sure.
it's difficult that way. And I think, a lot of the things that we used to do as a group were definitely face-to-face, very informal, just like, hey, let's, we're going to have a happy hour today in the kitchen at 4:00 and everybody sign off or things like that. And you're just not really able to do that when you've only got a very small number of people in your office. Plus, with all the safety precautions, I mean, nobody wanted to gather. Nobody wanted to be in a room with somebody. It was like, I'm just going to eat lunch in my office. I feel better that way. So
Right. So, now, Sarah, are you guys back in the office yet, or what's your plan there?
We're having everybody come back July 12th.
Okay.
So next Monday, and then
it's a lot of prep work, huh?
Yeah, and so we are going to do a hybrid. We're going to do a hybrid model going forward. So most of the staff will have the option, or the staff does have the option to work 2 days a week from home if they choose, or they can be here in the office. And then, the attorneys were always sort of hit and miss anyway, because their schedules sometimes demand that they're out of the office, or they have to be, on a client's job site or in court or at another attorney's office. So, the attorneys, there probably won't be much of a change there, although some of them, hopefully, we'll get to see them a little bit more regularly.
Sure. Now, how large is your office overall?
I've got 21 people.
Okay. Yeah, and so you have the 8 of you that have been there consistently, and so next week I imagine it'll be quite different to suddenly have everybody else back in. But
I think it'll be nice. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing faces that I haven't seen in months, or at least see them more consistently, because that part has been difficult when you're going, you just need to ask a question, but you're having to send an email and wait for an answer, or call and leave voicemail and then wait for a call back. It'll be nice just to be able to run down the hall and be like, okay, 5 minutes, I just need this. So
Sure. So you mentioned the hybrid work schedule. Are there other more permanent changes that you're expecting your firm to adopt as a result of the last 18 months, things that you guys have learned?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Zoom is not going to go away. I think for our clients, I think a lot of them like the option of being able to do things via Zoom. So I think that there will be more of that. Attorneys will have to be able to be more tech savvy to operate, the different portals. The courts are using WebEx. I'm not sure everything will go back. I'm not sure that's necessarily a firm standard, but I do think that that's where we're headed. We're going to have more of this remote video communication than we had in the past.
Okay. Yeah. I hear that from others as well, that, whereas before maybe there were just constant in-person client meetings, that there's an expectation that some level of those will be more virtual, and you'll have fewer in the actual office.
Yeah, and especially if you've got people that are out of state, this is more convenient than hopping on an airplane. If you need something, it is still nice to be able to see people. So we ended up purchasing several webcams and things like that, over the past 18 months. So, everybody has the ability, at least the attorneys all have the ability to do things like that in their offices.
Got it. So, as you think kind of even longer term, right, are there major initiatives that you're working on, either that maybe had initially been planned for last year and got delayed, or new ones that have emerged?
I wouldn't say anything big for this year. I think the goal is just to get through this year to try to have some sense of normalcy by the time we enter 2022. We had done like a large computer conversion right before COVID. So that was great. We had already taken care of a big technology piece.
Good timing.
I wish I could say I foresaw that, but it's just, luck of the draw. That's how that worked out. But no, not at this point. I think I just want to get back to normal, get back to whatever the new normal is, having people in the office. And I think trying to rebuild our culture, because it's been difficult when you don't see people. And like I said, being small, so much was informal and in person, trying to figure out how do we shift now.
Right. Are there different ways in which you might use, technology, or are there new groups or things, communication methods that you're going to use to try to encourage that, or more using better the things that you already have in place?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there'll probably be maybe more Zoom, even having people back in the office. Probably not going to have everybody back in the office the same day. So
Yeah.
we're probably going to have to go to doing more meetings, more things via Zoom, trying to figure out how do we have a Zoom meeting where I'm not the only person talking, because then I just feel like I'm talking at a screen and I'm not really having a conversation with anyone.
Yeah. No, that's the worst. I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, we have new security training and things like that in place. So, continuing to push that, making sure people are doing what they need to be doing. Possibly looking at even getting the staff webcams. I mean, I hadn't thought about that initially, just because so many of them weren't here. But now it's like, well, maybe they need them. So just things like that. Because when we purchased our new equipment, was like, nobody's doing that. Why would I need that? Now I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's doing it.
Right. Right. Yeah. The needs when you first envisioned that order is very different than the needs.
Yeah, and I think without COVID, things would just be the way that they were. So it's forced things, and not necessarily for bad change, but for change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, are there other things that you are thinking about, either for the direction of the firm, or, as you look to next year? You mentioned this year is really about trying to get everybody comfortable again and re-engaged. Do you have thoughts about what's going to happen in the next year, that you need to think about or worry about, or is that something that you'll tackle a little bit later this year?
I think I'll probably tackle that later this year. It's just, It's been kind of like, I think we've all just sort of been in this crisis mode for so many months that it's really hard to stop and go, okay, now I can actually plan. And I haven't been able to stop and think, okay, how do I plan? Because it's just been like, okay, this is the next thing, and this is the next thing. And it is crisis mode.
I was going to say, I mean, you've been planning, but it's like, planning for the next month, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the challenge.
It's been hard to look long term at this point and go, okay, I need to X, or it's just kind of been like, I don't even know what X is right now.
Sure. Well, and I imagine that the past, month has been really about trying to get the office back, ready to be back open, right?
Yeah.
And thinking about things like having necessary equipment available, or making sure that everything's, working, or that desk space is comfortable.
Right. And just the cleaning and, different things like that, where it's like, okay, I need to have this service come in, and I need to take care of these things. And how are we going to continue to clean things? And it's just, and that's kind of where I feel like it's still this crisis mode. It's kind of hard to think long term right now.
So I imagine during this past, the past year and a half, you've relied a lot on some of your friends and colleagues at in the regional ALA chapter. Is that a fair statement?
Oh yeah. I mean, I miss seeing them all person to person, but there have been so many things that we've done with just like, coffee break meetings, which have all been virtual, different roundtable things, again, all virtual. But it's so nice to have that as a resource to like, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what this firm is thinking. Because so much of it was just, there's not like a set, you must open your office at this time. You must do this at this time. That, it was just so nice to be able to like, help, what is everybody doing?
Right.
And to not feel like, okay, I'm the first one, or I've got to like go this alone and see how it works. So that's just been invaluable during this.
I think especially, as administrators, the being able to brainstorm with someone else, right? That you're not limited to the ideas that you can come in your own head, right? That you can talk to some other folks, you hear what's working, maybe riff off of them and find the right solution for you, rather than feeling like all of that pressure is
and just starting from scratch. Because you'd read these public health orders and you'd be like, what does that mean? What am I supposed to do? So we even had some members that work for the city and county of Denver, and they were able to get, a hold of a public health official just to answer some of our questions and things like that, because we're all struggling. And I'm thinking, okay, we're all fairly intelligent, but if we're struggling, I have to assume everybody's struggling.
Right. No, I think that's absolutely true. Things were changing so rapidly, right? I remember you and I talking, a couple of months ago, and we were talking about in person. You were saying, I don't think that's going to happen until the fall. And then the vaccine really accelerated after that conversation. And now you're opening next week, right?
Yeah.
And I think every moment, every week, every month, it's been a complete difference from where we were, just a little bit ago.
Exactly.
So, speaking about the ALA chapter now, can you talk a little bit about your current role in the ALA?
Yeah. This year for 2021-2022 business, or I guess calendar year, board year, I'm the president-elect. I'm also the chair then of the business partner committee. So I get to work with all of our business partners. I'll be planning our expo and conference that our chapter does on an annual basis. So that's kind of the bulk of it. That's the bulk of what I've got going on.
Have you taken on other roles before, Sarah?
Yeah.
What else have you done?
I've been on the board a long time. I've been on education and chaired that committee. I've chaired the professional development committee. I've served as the secretary. Last year, I was the vice president for the chapter. So, it's been a long time, but I find it really rewarding. It's, someplace else where I feel like my expertise gets to shine. So that's great.
Do you have a favorite role of all the ones that you've taken?
I really like the education. That's a big thing for me. I hold 2 certifications. So that's been something I've always been really passionate about in the chapter. And so I enjoyed that role a lot.
No, I can appreciate that for sure. Every role, as I'm sure you would tell us, right? Every role has its place and is critical to the workings of making everything work and really maximizing the community. But I think we all have affinities.
Yeah.
So, well, fantastic. Well, Sarah, are you going to be in Austin later this year?
I am going to be in Austin. I'm really excited to be able to go out and see people and do things in person and get those last credits that I need, because I looked at one of my certifications and went, ooh. So I've been trying to do some stuff online and catch up, but just, having everything canceled within a year and then just constantly trying to just keep up with what was happening locally, I'm a little behind on one of my certifications.
Like I said, I'm sure you're not the only one. There's been a lot to keep on top of.
Yeah, because I think a lot of it, you go, okay, I'm going to get like 10 or 12 hours here and 10 or 12 hours there. And then it's like, oh, I didn't get those hours. Yikes.
And they need to be made up still.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll see each other there. And again, I really appreciate your time today, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Loretta.
Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.